Okay, so this is gonna be the new any% tutorial. So the reason I am doing this in the first place is because the old one is very outdated at this point. A lot of strats that you should be doing are not covered, were not discovered yet. Also, it's very long. It shows a lot of different things you can do, which is sometimes good for some people, sometimes bad, because they expect different things from a tutorial. And also, especially the general mechanics described are not sufficient to what we know, simply because the game has advanced so much. And I just want to make a new one because I cringe every time I see people watching my old one. So as a disclaimer, so this is gonna be a total beginner's tutorial. Just make sure that you understand this. So this is not aimed at people who already know to play how to play this game. It's aimed at people who don't know how to play this game. Like maybe you have finished a casual playthrough, which I definitely recommend, or maybe you haven't. But I am not going to go through all the advanced stuff that this game offers, which is a lot. This game is a great speed game, and that you're watching this is already meaning a lot to me. But yeah, I'm going to focus on the simple things, and that's how this tutorial is going to be made. For the general layout, I want to have it just like the old one. In the beginning, I'm going to talk you through all the general mechanics. So in case you want to go right into the speedrun, just skip to wherever I start explaining the actual levels. There's probably going to be, I'm going to cut this in several pieces, I think. One for general mechanics and introduction, one for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So it's going to be a 4-part tutorial. So make sure that if you don't want to watch all the blabbering about mechanics in the beginning, then you just skip into the tier 1 part and dive right in. However, there is an advanced speedrun tutorial which is made by the community at the moment. There's a spreadsheet in the Discord, and I'm also going to link this probably into the YouTube description. This tutorial is aimed at people who want to reach like a low 30 time, so it kind of you won't understand anything that's going on, and the strats are just way too hard and save way too little time for it to be mentioned in this tutorial. But if you want to have a look at certain strats, there is a lot of resources for that already, even though we're still working on that. Okay, so now that we got the introduction out of the way, so the first thing, I'm just assuming you're new to speedrunning, whatever. Maybe you have done a speedrun of another game, maybe you haven't. So the first thing you always want to do when you start up a speedrun is go to speedrun.com page probably, because there are all the recorded PBs, there are a lot of resources and everything. And the first thing you want is probably a timer and a game you want to play, and that's it. And for that, I recommend you to download LifeSplit, which is the thing you see on the left of my screen right now. I'm going to explain you very briefly what LifeSplit does and what you should do with it. There's a website, go download it, use it. It's fantastic. I'm going to talk you through LifeSplit a bit later in the tutorial too. But yeah, the first thing you want for basically any game is go into the options and set a few things that you definitely have to set. So the first thing, here's the setup of the game. Go into video settings. A few things that are important is dynamic glow should probably be off because this game has frame rate issues if you have it off. Light flares is also one that you should probably turn off. Leave this on, dynamic lights. It helps you on certain occasions in the game. Don't worry about it, but you should probably leave this on. And this doesn't cost you much performance. For everything else, it doesn't really matter. I recommend low shadows because shadows require a lot of GPU processing, of course. So these are the important ones, I guess. And then there's another tab, and that's the options tab in the setup. And there are some things that you probably should also consider is turn slow motion death off for obvious reasons. It's slow, so it looks really cool for casuals, but turn it off. The second thing you might consider turning off is third-person view for guns, or first-person view, I'm sorry. So this makes you switch into first-person every time you choose a gun. That is not very convenient in this game. I'm going to talk you through why that is a bit later, but I probably recommend turning this off, and probably everything else doesn't matter. You can play this game in any language you want. There is no version difference. It doesn't matter if you play it on 1.0.0 or on 1.0.1.0. It's only a multiplayer patch, and the Steam version always comes in 1.0.1.0, as you can see here. This is a modded version, but it's only modded for multiplayer. So this is the version 1.0.1.0, as you can see. Okay, so that's the version. That's all I'm going to talk you through here. Another thing, you can check sensitivity. You can basically check anything here. You can bind your force powers. All of that is going to come in later, I suppose. So the second thing I want to talk about is the console. So fortunately, we were blessed from the developers with a nice console. You activate it, look into my note board, it's on the bottom left, you can see my inputs, it's shift and tilde key, and this opens the console. And the console has some really, really nice things we can do with it. Also some really bad things that you probably want to stay away for speedrunning. You can cheat really easily with the console, which is really nice for practice actually. So a few things that are important with a console and that are also required for the speedrun. The rules for it you can find on the speedrun.com/jka leaderboards. There's a rules tab. And so the first thing you see, I have an FPS counter at the top right, and it's hard locked to 125 FPS. You want to do that, and how you do that is you type max FPS 125. You can set it to any value you want, so you can lock your game at 5 FPS if you want, but it's not very fun, as you can see. And how you display it is you type CG underscore raw FPS 1, and there it is. The other thing is the timer. You want to display the timer too. It's also required for the speedrun because you can actually speed up this game very easily with a console. And in order to prevent that, you write CG underscore draw timer 1, and that's the timer. Another thing this game has, which is really, really convenient for us, is cheats. So you can activate cheats with help us OB1. So now the cheat server is basically activated. You can also deactivate it again with putting it on 0. But we're going to leave it on 1 for this tutorial. And they're probably the most important cheats that you want to use for practice and finding out stuff is no clip. So no clip makes you, well, it removes your clipping, and it also makes you fly, so that's really convenient. Next thing that's really convenient is give all. It gives you 100 force, 100 health, every weapon in the game, and also I think every lightsaber. No, not every lightsaber. So that's really nice. You only get the weapons and 100 ammo for it. It's really nice. Yeah, there's also God mode, but God mode is kind of useless, and I would instead recommend you to use no target. And no target makes everyone forget about you. So you can use people, push them around, whatever, have fun with the game without worrying about getting shot everywhere. So yeah, that's really nice. So another thing about the console that you will consider, or you might want to consider, is the bind command. The bind command is basically what you do when you go into the controls and you bind W to work forward, okay? And instead you can do that with a console. So for example, you can whatever, I don't know, bind mouse for attack or something, whatever you want. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because I've bound a bunch of cheats to my hotkeys, so that, for example, I can fly around easily with no clip and deactivate it. So I've bound that to F7. So how you do that is you type bind and then the key, which is in my case F7, and then you type no clip, and you should put this into whatever these are called. Just do it, trust me. So you do that, and then you have bound F7 no clip. That's how it works. So the reason I'm telling you that is not only because it's useful, but there's also a thing you basically need in order to play this game. It's the vid restart command. So the vid restart command is basically the command that gets executed if you do this. So you change your resolution or something, and then there's the apply changes button. So when I press this, the game asks you continue, you press yes, and then it gets restarted. Okay, so that is important because this game has a memory leak. And if you load too much stuff into its memory and it runs full, then the game is just going to crash right where it is. And you load stuff every time you load. Okay, so if I do a quick load and I do another one and another one and I do that 20,000 times, the game's eventually going to crash. And the same happens when you load different levels. You go into like core 1, hey, I just loaded every texture in core 1 into the memory and it's not going to get removed until I clear it with restarting or just, manually resetting the game. And that is very slow, and really annoying. And instead what we do is we use this command. It's vid_restart. And if I enter this into the console, the same thing happens, but I don't have to go into the video settings. And what we do is we bind this to a key. So in my case, I've bound restart to F9. So I do that, I press F9, and now the game is going to get restarted every time I press F9. And that clears the entire memory, okay? So make sure that if you practice a lot and you quick load a lot, and also during runs, if you want to avoid crashes, then remind yourself that you should restart from time to time. So that is really, really important. The funny thing is, though, on some machines, the game somehow does not crash, so it's entirely setup dependent, and it's also the drivers. So sometimes when there's a driver update, the game's going to crash more, or it's not going to crash at all anymore. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so much, I think, to the console. So let me take a sip of water. Alright, so next thing we're going to talk about is the auto splitter and speedometer. So right now we haven't even played the game, but there are so many important things I have to talk about. And for this, I want you to see my actual stream layout that I use right now. For this, I'm going to switch to desktop capture. And you can see here's my life split. This is my game, and here's my tutorial notes that I had prepared before. So to activate the auto splitter, so PC games have this really bad thing where load times differ from each machine quite substantially. So if I run this game against someone who has a really slow computer, then the load times will differ by like 2 or 3 minutes over the course of an entire run. And that is of course stupid, because then the runs get entirely random, right? They're not comparable anymore. You can actually see who's the better player or who has a faster PB or whatever. And the way we handle this is with an auto splitter. And the auto splitter, what it does, it removes the load times from an actual time. So what you want, in order to activate it, you're going to edit splits. I hope you can see this on stream with my bitrate, but it should be high enough. So you press edit splits, and then you can enter the game name. So what you do is you enter Star Wars Jedi Knight something. I don't even find it now. Jedi Knight Academy. There it is. So you enter this, then it says auto splitting and load removal are available by the fantastic Drat and Ziffy. Now you press activate, and hey, you just got it. That's it. You can go into the settings if you want, and you can. So what I do, I deactivate start, because this makes the timer start every time I enter the very first level of the game. I don't want that. You can leave it on or whatever you want. I don't care. So this is important. The split, that should be on, and the reset thing, that's not important at all. You can also turn it off or on. It resets the timer every time you enter Yevon 1, which is the first level in the game. Alright, so now you have two different tabs here. One says real time, one says game time. So what you do now is you add your splits, okay, whatever you want. You can call them Localora, and then you add another one up. You tell it like it's fuck Rosh, and then the end split is going to be fuck Kyle. Okay. Great. So we have our splits now, and I don't display them because they're not in my layout. I'm just going to use my other layout for this. And then I go into right click, and I go to compare against, and I set it to game time. Okay, so right now when I start the timer starts going, and you can see that this is my real time, and here's my game time, but don't worry about this. So this is my real time. So when I load something now, the game time stops and the real time doesn't. I don't know if you can see that. So now I pause the timer at 14 seconds, and I go to game time, and it's at 12 seconds. So I just removed 2 seconds of loads from the 2 quick loads I did in game. That's how the load remover roughly works. I hope you got that. The really cool thing about it too is it auto splits every time. For you choose, you go into a different level, all right? So every time I finish a level, I'm gonna go into another one. So I go to core 1 now, and once I load core 1, it should split, and it's not going to do that because the timer is paused, I think, or something. Yeah, see? So they are changed from core 1 back to which, and it's split. So basically, we have our splits set up in a way that that we have a split for each level, and then it splits every time we change a level. That's how the auto splitter works. So it's really cool. You don't actually have to do anything in this game. You just press start, and the rest the auto splitter does for you. So another thing, you can see here I have auto splitter and speedometer. So what is a speedometer? Speedometer is a really, really cool thing you should definitely get in order to understand how this game works, in my opinion. So we're gonna go back to this splits and this layout, like nice and cleaned. All this tutorial, don't have splits at all. And so what you do now, you can download the speedometer on the speedrun.com/jka resources. There's a link, and it's a thing you put, I believe it's an ASL, you put it into the live split folder into resources, and then you go into your layout, press edit layout, and then you add memory graph, and I believe it's under other. No, it's under information. No, it's under, it's somewhere, I assure you. Maybe not. Not this. This is it. It's the memory graph. So you press memory graph, and then you go into memory graph, and then you choose the Star Wars Jedi Academy vectors no mounts. This is the right one, okay? So you set it here. It's this address. Don't worry about this. This is all right, okay? Don't worry about this. And then what you get is so this right here, there's a 0 and there's a graph. So as soon as I start moving, you can see how it tracks my movement speed, okay? So when I move faster, it goes higher. When I move slower, like when I walk, it goes lower. I don't know if you can see that, but hopefully you can, because this is really important. Because in a speedrun, you want to go fast, and if you don't understand how to go fast, then you're not going to go fast in a speedrun either. Alright, so now that we all got this, and we understand how this works, we can actually go into playing the game. That's fantastic. So we've set up everything now. Now we're going to talk about the core mechanic that makes this game so unique and great and fantastic, and the reason why you should all speedrun this. And it's the fact that this game runs on Quick 3 engine, and it has strafe jumping. Alright, so what is strafe jumping? We're going to go through what does strafe jumping mean, and how does it work, or how do we understand it, because we don't really understand it, to be honest. From the beginning, from a noob perspective. Alright, so what happens when we move? So we move around, and you can see that if I hold W, the game locks my movement speed at 250. Okay, and this also happens when I hold W and A and W and D, or just A and just D. It always locks my movement speed at 250. So what happens now when we change directions? For example, by adding another key, like I hold W and then I add right, and you can see that every time I change my direction, it goes up a tiny bit, and then it goes back to 250. Hope you can see that. What does this mean? This means that the 250 movement speed cap, it only gets applied after a while, okay? It's not instantly. So you can see that if I start walking like this, I'm actually faster, constantly. If I just wiggle my A and D, I'm constantly at 300 speed instead of 250. Why is that? The reason is, when you change directions, you add like another direction, like another vector. I hope like for some people who have physics or have had physics or math, you can understand it in a way that there's another vector, like the vector changes direction, and obviously when you do that, you have to add vectors together, and then the resulting speed vector gets longer for a while until it gets cut back to 250. That's how it works. And we can abuse this, because not only does it work if we do this, but it also works when we turn our camera. See that? So I hold W and I turn my camera left or right, I gain speed. I can go up to 260, which is not a lot, but hey, it works. And so when we do this, now with a strafe key, so strafe keys are A and D, we hold W and D and we curve right. Okay, this is strafe walking. This is how it works. So you curve your mouse left all the way when you hold left and forward, and you curve your mouse right when you hold W and D, which is forward and right. Okay, so this is strafe walking. So what does this mean? the acceleration we get, which is like the additional speed we get, it comes from turning. Yeah, okay, great. So turning is great. You always want to turn. And so the next thing that you notice is once I jump, this cap gets removed, kind of. See that? I'm not locked to 250 speed anymore for the duration of my jump. So if I just curve right, I can reach really high speeds, like 600 speed right there. And if you play around with this, I highly recommend, if you like learn this game, play around with the speedometer and see how the values change. There's a perfect speed at which I can move my mouse right or left, which will gain me the most amount of speed. Hope that's kind of understandable. So if I move it really fast, you can see that I don't get any speed. See? Like I actually stay below 250. Okay? So this is bad. If I move it really slow, you can see the same thing happens because I'm so slow that the acceleration limit hits and we are like constantly at 250 speed. And something in between, that is perfect. See? Like I could go up to 270, 260, and with a jump I can even go up to 600. So there's the speed you wanna curve, which is the perfect speed for a strafe jump. So this is a strafe jump. So now we know strafe jumping is good. The problem is it's a curve, right? So if I want to go from one place to another, then curving is kind of bad. Like I want to go from here to here. This is a straight line. So I mean, I would have to do something like this. And that's obviously not the best way to move. So instead, what you want to do is when you go a straight line, you want to do like a wave motion, right? Right, left. So now I went straight because I did like a right, left, right. Okay, so this is like a wave. And that's why this mechanic is called a wave jump. This is a wave jump. Then every time you change from right to left, you want to also change, look into my inputs, from D to A and D to A and D to A. And then you also change your mouse curving every time you do that. Okay, so this is a wave jump. So wave jumping is generally what you do everywhere, okay? No exceptions. Like you want to go from here to this bump over there, do wave jumps. Wave jump, wave jump. Okay, great. So the question now is, what happens? You can see like every time I touch the ground, my speed gets removed. So why is that? So the game has a mechanic that every time you touch the ground, on even ground or higher ground, your movement speed gets exactly halved, okay? And you can see that with a good wave jump, I can go up to speeds like 500 maybe 550. And so if you cut that in half, you're back to 250 speed. And that's why generally when you do wave jumps and you don't reach that 500 speed, you want to do like a pause in between them. So I do a wave jump and I walk a while, so I get back to 250 speed and I do another one and another one and another one. So that is the best way to move, right? Like do a wave jump, wait a bit, do a wave jump, wait a bit, walk a while, do a wave jump. So that's how wave jumping kind of works. I hope you got the essence there. And now we know this. There's the fantastic thing that this game makes so unique. So actually this half thing, like cutting the speed in half thing, is not applied when you go downhill. And with downhill, I mean a distance when you jump from a thing that's higher on something that's lower. So you can see if I do a wave jump here, and I continue that, then the speed, it doesn't get halved, okay? For that jump at least. It even works for really small things like this, so see that. This platform is higher than this. I jumped from here to here, and hey, I can continue my speed all the way. And this is called a boosted strafe jump. So really, boosted strafe jump is not really the best way to describe it because it's not a boost. You actually just maintain your speed, but that's how we call it. And there's also a limit to how far you can fall down. So this is approximately the height that you can fall down. You can see that this ledge is approximately the height of myself, like my character model. And if you fall from something that's higher than your character model, like say I want to do a boosted strafe jump from this roof down. Okay, so I jump down, it doesn't work. See? So I just got my movement speed halved again. So the optimal distance or the maximum distance is this. And it's enough like that you go like a tiny distance like this. And you can chain these things together, right? So if I go from this onto this platform and then onto this platform, you can see that I can reach crazy speeds like 700, 800 just from 2 boosted strafe jumps in a row. And that's what we call a chain, right? So we can chain different boosts together, like right here, and we can reach crazy speeds. And that's basically what this game is about. You want to chain as many boosted strafe jumps together. So all the time, go downhill, and that's the kind of the gist. Okay, so much about strafe jumping for now. So every time I refer to a boost, you know now what it is, and yeah, that's great. Then there's another thing. Oh, there are so many things left about strafe jumping, but I'm just gonna go through two more things really briefly. So one thing is called a jump cancel. What is a jump cancel? So a jump cancel is when you release your spacebar at a certain timing. So like just canceling your jump somewhere, right? So this game has the mechanic that the longer you hold space, the higher you're gonna jump. And you can cancel that by just releasing space or firing your weapon. That works too. What does it actually? Just forget what I just said. So we do it with releasing space. And why is that useful? So if I just hold space all the way from my start of my jump to the end of my jump, then you can see that at the top. So I'm gonna, hopefully you can see this. There, my movement speed gets like, you bump into like an invisible ceiling, kind of. I don't know if you know what I mean. So I go upwards and then I immediately go downwards. And if I do a jump cancel, that's not happening. See that? That was a cancelled jump. So I go really smoothly up and really smoothly down. But these were with jump canceling, and now I'm going to do another one without jump canceling, and boom, I go downwards. And that costs you speed, okay? So this makes you slower. And that's the reason why you want to jump cancel literally any jump ever, right? The optimal thing would be to never hit that bump. So that's a perfect jump cancel. That's another one. So I'm going to compare this to holding space. So that was not cancelled. And trust me, there is a difference. So clearing a gap, like for example this gap here, is considerably harder if you do not jump cancel. But at the same time, I really want to make sure that you do not worry about jump canceling at the beginning, okay? I just want to tell you it's out there and it's a mechanic and you can maybe use it somewhere, but don't be like, oh yeah, fuck, I have to jump cancel every single jump now because this guy told me it's really fast. No, it saves like so little time every time you do it. And it's really a mechanic you'll learn over the course of you getting better at this game, okay? Don't worry about it. The same thing goes for what we call an angle change. Angle changing is every time you go from right curving direction to left, okay? That's an angle change. And the way you want to do this with your mouse is you snap from the perfect right curving speed over to the left perfect curving speed, alright? So the perfect jump cancel would be like this. I don't know if that makes any sense, because you can't see my mouse. But basically every time you jump and you change your angle, you want to change like your mouse curving speed immediately to the other direction. Like don't be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this smoothly from and go slow and blah blah blah. No, like when you change your angle, snap it, okay? Be like aggressive with it. That's my advice, at least. Like it's better in general. Wherever, when you start out, you will have a lot of difficulties hitting that perfect curving speed, and maybe it's better to not angle change too much, because what happens when you angle change? I'm going to display this when I jump down here. Okay, look at my movement speed in the speedometer on the right. So I fall down here, and I'm going to show you what happens when I just curve into one direction. Okay, so I gain speed, I gain speed, I gain speed, I gain speed, I gain. So I gain speed all the way. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I'm gaining speed all the way. I'm going up to 800 now. What happens now when I start angle changing 3 times? Okay, I'm going to show you. See that? Every time I angle change, my movement speed stops. Right? There, you can see it. And the better I do the angle change, the less it stops, but it's going to stop every time for a tiny bit at least. And so, really what you want to do is stay away from it, okay? So in Source games, I think it's good to wiggle your mouse left and right. Don't do that in Quake games. Like when you have difficulties doing a jump, then try not angle changing at all like that. Okay, just go into like an arc. That's the easiest thing you can do, because you will gain speed the entirety of your jump, and you will never angle change, you will never drop speed. But if you angle change, then do it when you are at the highest point, like right there. That's where you want to angle change. So maybe that helps you with some some particular jumps that you're having difficulties with. You're like, oh yeah, I have to wave jump this. Like a good example is this jump right here. So a lot of people have problems with this jump, and a really easy way to do this jump is by just not angle changing at all. See, boom, I just made it. If you want to angle change, and do it here, okay, boom, easy jump. But we're gonna go through that later, so don't worry. Okay, so we just finished talking about strafe jumping. That was a long story. And the reason why it's a long story is because 90% of what I'm gonna tell you in this tutorial is gonna be about what I just told you about strafe jumping. Go fast, go downhill, don't wiggle your mouse around, use it smoothly. Yeah, oh, great. Let me take a quick break, and we're gonna talk about the next mechanic. All right, cool. So the next mechanic is what is called a ledge grab, or a crouch climb. So just like in many games you probably know, you can crouch. And the cool thing about crouching is it reduces your hurt box, and it actually moves the bottom of your hurt box higher than it is while you don't do it. Okay, so, and with that you can actually reach a bunch of places that you would normally not be able to reach. Okay, so if I jump against something and it's too high and I do a crouch, I can climb it with a crouch, which is a bad example here because I can just climb it like that. But crouch climbing is really, really, really helpful, and you want to do it a lot. So in some places it's even required. For example, a good thing that comes to mind, or a good example, is the one in Yavin 2, where you would go out of bounds. So you probably have seen this in a speedrun. So we climb this wall, and you can see that I hold W and jump. I'm not going to climb this, but when I crouch, I can climb this, right? So bam, I'm out of bounds. And here's another good example. So you can crouch climb this. This is called a ledge grab. And then one thing about ledge grabbing that's kind of annoying is when you climb a ledge that's too low. So this ledge is actually perfect, right? That's why it's such a good example. But for example, this one is a bit lower, and if I overjump it, I'm gonna do a roll, and a roll is really annoying because you cannot cancel a roll. So be aware that you can roll. And so a way to, for example, get rid of a roll is to go into third person. So when I'm in third person, which you cannot do without cheats here, by the way, but just keep in mind that you can do it, and you do a crouch climb, you will never roll. Okay, so that's really, really, really cool, and that's used in the speedrun at some point. You cannot roll here, even though it's lower. If I do the same thing in third person, I'm gonna do a roll here. Bam. So that's ledge grabbing. Ledge grabbing is fantastic. Do it. It's great. You can save you missed attempts at a certain jump and whatnot. It's a really cool mechanic in general. Okay, so the next thing is a so-called quick step or quick climb. What is a quick step? So a good example of what a quick step is at the beginning of rail. So a quick step happens when you run against a ledge that is too high for your what is it, step size. So for example, this ledge here is kind of low, and you can run against it and you're gonna climb it. See, like it's low enough that you can just run on it. However, obviously this here is too high. Okay, so we're gonna jump here, up here, and there's a good example right here. So this ledge is too high. I run against it, nothing happens. So it's too high. Okay, so I can jump up it, but that's slow. Like jumping up means that you overshoot it, and the cool thing you can do is you can just run against it and tap space, and you're gonna climb it. See, that's a quick climb or a quick step. And that also works in first person, yes. So that's a quick step. So why is quick stepping so cool? It's first because it's fast. Second, it also has a negative thing to it, and that's that it can happen unintentionally everywhere. So sometimes in this game you will notice that the game ate your jump input. Okay, so for example on stairs, I cannot display this now because it's not going to work if I just try to show you. But for example here, this ledge is low enough that I can walk on it. But sometimes when I jump, it will eat my jump input, instead do a quick climb. Maybe I can display this, but I'm not going to try this forever because it's really annoying. And obviously, it's obviously not going to work. But a really, really prominent example, there it worked, see? That was a quick step, and I didn't want this, I want to jump over it. Okay, so that's, and instead it just makes me quick step this. The reason why it's called quick step is because it makes a step noise, obviously. And for example, this happens a lot on stairs, because stairs are just many ledges put behind, like, after each other, and every time you jump against one of these, you can get a quick step instead, and that's really, really annoying. The same can actually happen on the oh, there's also another quick climb, as you can see. On these things right here. So sometimes people will just die because you think you jump, but you didn't jump, and then you're just gonna walk into the... Yeah, see, there was a quick step. And it's sometimes when you time your jump really badly, then this can happen. So just be aware that this exists. It's really annoying, and don't blame yourself for it. It's really difficult to avoid. And you have to know exactly what you're doing. Okay, so next thing. Next thing is pull cancelling. So what is pull cancelling? I'm gonna go back to Wedge because it's nice and quiet there. So pull cancelling, some weapons in this game have a cooldown, like an internal cooldown, and that goes for most alternate fires of the weapons. Like for example, this weapon here has a cooldown. So when I hold right click, it's gonna shoot in this rhythm. However, if I do like an animation in between of pushing or pulling, which is like, yo, this is push and this is pull. I've bound these to C and Y. You can see this in my inputs. And I shoot and I pull in between, I can shoot again. And really quick succession. And you can also do this with just like holding right click. See? So this is pull cancelling. This is really helpful, for example, with this gun, because this gun is nice for killing droids, but it fires really slowly, as you can see. With pull cancelling, you can do this and fire quickly in 2 shots in quick succession that kills off most droids instantly, so that's really nice. The second thing is a Stuka concussion rifle. So a Stuka rifle has the alternate fire is a beam, and that beam knocks you backwards. So if you pull cancel this, you go really fast, okay? And if you do that during a jump, for example like that, and you turn around, you can launch yourself forward. And that's really, really nice. And all you need to do is hold right click and then pull. Like you can just literally hold down the right click button and pull in between, and it's gonna reset the cooldown. Okay, that's pull cancelling. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is entering cutscenes. So in this game there's a glitch, and that is we can enter literally any cutscene we want and walk around during it and do crazy stuff like kill yourself or yeah, in general it's really fun to mess around with entering cutscenes. I wanna think about which cutscene I want to enter. Probably the one in Region 3, but because it's the most prominent one. But it takes a long time to display. So instead I'm just going to go to Yavin 1 actually. So on Yavin 1 there's a cutscene in the beginning where Rosh opens the door for you. We're gonna no target so that the Holish are not annoying. And the cutscene is available once I killed these 2 guys off. And there's a trigger right here. Okay, trigger's right here. What you can do now is you can wedge yourself forward with like the walk key and save. And eventually, once you touch the cutscene, there it is. You can save and do a quick save. And then quick load it, and boom, you're in the cutscene. Right? So now I can go here, kill myself, kill Rush, and then the game soft locks because it's black now. Yeah, so some cutscenes have some really, really sick things you can do, like dismember yourself, as you can see. It's kind of annoying, kind of disgusting actually. And yeah, you can do this with literally any cutscene you want. You can even do it with a beginning level cutscene. So if I load into Yavin 1 and I quick save, and I load the quick save, so that's kind of a hard thing, has a hard timing. There we go. So now I'm in the beginning of the level, nothing's loaded, and I'm a camera. So that's called the camera snail. Okay, so this is one way to enter a cutscene. Another way, which is probably the one that you are going to use for the most part during your speedrun, is using the vit restart command. So the restart command not only dumps your entire game memory, so that's what it makes already necessary for speedrunning. It also offers a really easy way to enter a cutscene, because all you have to do is like walk into it and tap it. The game is going to restart, reset the video settings, kind of just going to restart and put you into the cutscene. And you can do that with any cutscene you want. You can also do it with this cutscene right here. So I press restart, and I really highly encourage you to just go through the game and enter a bunch of cutscenes, see what happens. It's great. Some cutscenes are really hilarious. Some cutscenes are kind of annoying because they soft lock really easily, but yeah, there are some places where this is useful. And the way, or like the reason why we allow this in speedruns is because we kind of have to allow restart too for the dumping your game memory, so that the game doesn't crash all the time. Also, I'm gonna lower the voices a bit because that's really annoying for when I'm talking and Rush is talking too. So yeah, and it's just a generally easier way to enter a cutscene, and it's useful in a bunch of places. Yeah, another thing I want to note is that the quick save, quick loading into a cutscene is FPS dependent, so it's like infinitely easier when you lower your FPS to like 10. It has a very easy timing. And yeah, so I think that's all the mechanics I wanted to talk about for this. Also, Hell Muffin and Michal, I haven't said hi, but yeah, I'm talking the entire time. So yeah, we're just gonna chill out for a moment and think about what we just learned, and then I'm gonna guide you through the entire game from start to finish and show you a bunch of easy stuff you can do and make you feel like this game is easy, which it really is. It's really easy to pick up, so don't be afraid. Yeah. See you in 10 seconds.